Welcome to this explainer. Imagine, just for a second, a time long before paved highways or airplanes. Our ancestors looked out at the vast moving waters of the earth and they didn't see a barrier. They saw a pathway. Today, we're diving into exactly how humanity unlocked those liquid pathways, carrying people, ideas, and dreams across the globe to completely reshape the world we live in. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be moving through the first simple boats, masters of the Mediterranean, the Viking longships, the age of discovery, a connected, changed world, and finally, the journey of curiosity. Section 1. The first simple boats, from rivers to the horizon. So long before complex engineering, early humans lived along the edges of rivers. They built simple rafts just to cross lakes or catch fish. But, once they figured out how to navigate those calm waters, human nature totally took over. They looked toward the endless ocean horizon and asked one single, incredibly powerful question. What is out there? And honestly, that question became the ultimate catalyst for human expansion into the unknown. Section 2. Masters of the Mediterranean, Trade, and War. It's really in the ancient Mediterranean where the story of purpose-built ships kicks off. And it's a perfect example of form following function. The Phoenicians, they were traders, so they built deep, curved hulls to haul massive cargo. But the Greeks, on the other hand, they built triremes. These were incredibly fast, narrow ships with 3 rows of oars that basically acted like human-powered torpedoes, explicitly designed to fight their enemies. The Phoenicians were just remarkable. Using the wind as their engine and navigating by the North Star, they sailed all the way to the coast of what's now Spain, and some historians think they might have even rounded Africa. But they didn't build their empire with armies. They built deep connections. They set up ports and markets, and as they traded their glass and cedarwood, they were also trading ideas and languages. In fact, and this is wild, the very alphabet you are reading right now traces its origins directly back to the connections those Phoenician ships made possible. Because of this, ships literally dictated the survival of ideas. Take the year 480 BC, at the Battle of Salamis. Maritime warfare basically saved Western civilization. The Persian king Xerxes brought this massive fleet to attack Greece, but the Greeks knew the narrow waters near Salamis. Their nimble triremes easily outmaneuvered the giant, slow Persian ships in those tight passages. And that one victory protected the small Greek civilization that would go on to birth the foundations of modern democracy, philosophy, and science. Right after the Greeks, the Romans enter the scene. Now, at first, the Romans were strictly land-loving soldiers, but they quickly realized that if you want to build a massive empire, you have to control the water. So they fought the Carthaginians in the Punic Wars, and they eventually mastered the waves. They built hundreds of ships to transport soldiers, food, and supplies, ultimately controlling the Mediterranean so completely that they proudly called it Mare Nostrum, literally, our sea. Section 3. The Viking longships, ocean explorers. Centuries later, up in the freezing cold north, a new kind of sailor emerged, and their ship was an absolute work of quiet genius. Its secret weapon, an incredibly shallow draft. This meant the Vikings had a vessel that could survive brutal open ocean crossings, yet it could still sail far down shallow Russian rivers to trade and fight. It's an amazing duality. Because of these incredible ships, a Viking named Leif Erikson and his crew were able to sail west across the North Atlantic, right past Iceland and Greenland, reaching a land they called Vinland. That means they became the very first Europeans to set foot in the Americas around the year 1000. That is nearly 500 years before Christopher Columbus ever sailed west. Section 4. The Age of Discovery, expanding the map. Moving into the late 1400s, we hit an era that fundamentally shifted global power forever. And it all comes back to that same recurring question: what is out there? This intense curiosity pushed a whole new generation of explorers, mainly from Portugal and Spain, to look way beyond the known maps. And they braved unimaginable hardships to do it. Starvation, disease, eating hard bread completely full of insects, running out of fresh water, just to see what lay on the other side of the deep ocean. The vessel that made all this possible was the caravel. It was a total game changer. Older ships really struggled against the wind, but the caravel was explicitly designed to sail against it and survive incredibly long distances. In 1488, Bartolomeu Diaz used one to sail around the southern tip of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope. And that unlocked a highly coveted, brand new sea highway directly to the rich spice markets of Asia. bringing absolute fortunes to whoever controlled it. This whole era culminated in the ultimate oceanic feat. In 1519, Ferdinand Magellan launched a grueling expedition that proved, once and for all, that the world's oceans were fully connected. By leaving Spain, crossing the Atlantic, rounding South America, surviving the vast Pacific, and eventually having just one ship return to Spain from the east, human beings had, for the very first time, sailed entirely around the world. Section 5. A Connected, Changed World. Triumphs and Tragedies. So, as you can imagine, the explorers were very quickly followed by the traders, and then the traders were followed by colonizing empires. Countries all across Europe, Spain, Britain, Portugal, France, Holland, they built massive fleets to take land and control global trade routes. They extracted enormous wealth, funneling silver, gold, spices, silk, tea, and sugar from the Americas, Asia, and the Caribbean straight back to Europe. The sea wasn't just a pathway for exploration anymore, it was an engine for empire building. But alongside all that wealth, these ships facilitated an unprecedented exchange of life, which we call the oceanic exchange. Foods that we consider super traditional today were actually introduced through this maritime network. Think about it. Tomatoes traveled to Italy, chilies went to India, potatoes to Ireland, all originating from the Americas. And along with plants and animals, these ships carried books, languages, and religions, permanently rewiring traditional life on literally every single continent. Now, impartially reporting this history means we must also acknowledge its darkest reality. The very same ships that brought knowledge, connected continents, and built empires also carried profound, cruel human suffering. Millions of enslaved people were taken from the coast of Africa and forced onto ships bound for the Americas. It is a painful reality that the maritime networks that built the modern connected world were the exact same vehicles for the horrific tragedy of the transatlantic slave trade. Section 6. The Journey of Curiosity. Your Own Voyage. Let's return mentally for a moment to that quiet village by the sea where we started. The sea is a powerful teacher. As our sources beautifully note, the long ship was their key and the sea was the door it opened. History consistently shows us that the human desire to discover something new, to push past boundaries, is always stronger than our fear of the unknown. The ship? Well, the ship was simply the tool we built to turn that curiosity into a reality. The thing is, you don't need a wooden ship to be an explorer today. Just as early sailors explored the sea, your active pursuit of learning, whether that's mastering a new language, trying to understand a complex piece of history, or utilizing explainers just like this one to grasp new concepts, that is your own personal voyage into the unknown. And it happens the exact same way, slowly, with patience, one step at a time. I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Every time someone looked at the horizon and asked what was out there, our world grew just a little bit larger. So, as you look at the horizon of your own potential, how will you choose to explore it? I really hope this history inspires you to keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep sailing forward, because the journey of discovery itself is the ultimate reward.